Hi, I'm Charlie Collins, and this is the Donegal Sport Hub Donegal Daily Championship Podcast, brought to you in association with Kelly's Centra, multi-award-winning store, mountaintop Letterkenny, providing 24-hour service, 7 days a week. And you're welcome once again to our podcast here on behalf of Donegal Daily, Donegal Sport Hub, in association with Kelly's Centra at the mountaintop. Thanks to Marcin and his staff for their support over the last number of weeks. Well, we thought maybe this might be our last podcast, but it won't be, because we'll have to come back next weekend because, of course, the Senior Championship final finished in a draw yesterday. We're going to talk about that, Buncrana's victory also in the Junior Championship, and we're going to look forward to the action next weekend as Nivora and Termon ladies are involved in Ulster finals also. So, a busy weekend gone by and another one to come. Let's start in Ballybofey yesterday. It finished Gweedore 8 points, Niamh Connell 8 points. Francie Friel is missing from our squad today. He's off on duty with the LYIT. We're delighted to welcome back Brendan Devenney to the podcast. Brendan, you're welcome.
Thanks, sir.
And we'll start with you. A fair result?
Yeah, a fair result, Charlie, from two teams that didn't want to lose a match, I suppose. Spectacle, poor, you know. There's two ways of looking at this now. Charlie, you could say that this is modern football where it's at a lot of the time. It was intensive, it was intriguing, there was some hard hitting in it. Mm-hmm. That's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it was saying it was desperately low scoring. You know, a lot of skills of the game, you know, passing, shot taking, shot selection, a lot of stuff very, very poor. So the result, fair enough, Charlie. I'm just looking at the game, and if you look at it going into the game, it was quite a fascinating encounter. Gweedore have captured the imagination, not just Gweedore, but, you know, they've injected a lot of life into club football in Donegal by winning Ulster. They're coming into this match as champions and Ulster champions. Of course, Niamh Connell with the two defeats. It was set up for a very intriguing game. Now, if you take all that out of it, and the fact there's a county final, there's history at stake, take that out of it a second and just look at the game as a game of football, as a one-off game of football. It was pretty much a load of crap. Yeah. You know, as a game. If you've seen that game as a standalone match, you'd say it's very poor. As a game, 8 each.
The occasion helped the circumstances.
That's what I'm saying. And if you take it apart, if you take all that away, and they put that back in, and of course it's intriguing. There's so much at stake. Yeah. You know, at the end of the match, who's going to get this winning? But as a game of football on its own, it's very, very poor. And before anybody in Gweedore or Glenty thinks you're having to go at them, it's not to do with the players or the supporters. This has got to do with coaching. We've spoken about this before. Yeah. As coaches just make players play in a certain way, it loses spontaneity and it loses the ability to be an attacking force. So you have two teams that are just weighing up each other, and we've seen this many times through county and club, and I thought we were kind of coming out of it. I'm sure they call this the dark ages there when we look back at it in club football, and I thought we were kind of coming out of it. Some teams look like they're opening up and attacking a bit more, but really yesterday was a throwback to the worst of the worst. Now again, people just want to win the trophy, and I understand that, but just from a neutral's perspective, that was a really bad game of football.
John, hard to disagree with what Brendan's saying, but here's me, I'm watching the game, and I'm not working in the sense that during the game I'm taking notes and all that sort of stuff. Chris and Alan were doing that for us. I was doing after-match stuff, but it didn't seem to be that awful defensive game that we've seen too often in the past. Maybe Brendan said it in the head, it was intriguing and stuff going on in it. Where are you at with it? And I'm a bit worried because you have more notes with you today than you've had for the 7 weeks so far here.
An extended show.
I had a chance to look over the match, so that's why I was taking notes. You know, I looked over the match last night on the TG Car player. But no, Jerry, I'd be a wee bit more, a bit like you, and you can see where Brendan's coming from. But during the match, and you're in the crowd, Jerry, it was intriguing, and it stayed close, and it kept the interest there. And you know. Glenty's went in at half time and they were a point up, and it was a good enough, not a great first half. It was, as Brendan's right, it was far from good, Charlie. Yeah. But it was intriguing. It kept the game close. Then Gweedore went 8-6 up, and then Glenty's came back with them 2 points, and then it was a cliffhanger at the end. The tension was there. Who was going to get the winner?
You know what it reminded me a little bit, John? The St Eunan's Gweedore game, the very first game down Maharagel, 6 points each it was, or 1-3 to 6 points, very low scoring and all that. But it was an intriguing game, maybe because the two clubs involved and there was so much at stake. Was that the case yesterday? As Brendan says, it's a county final. It takes on a life of its own.
It takes on a life of its own, Jerry. And the stakes are massive. No one wants to lose a county final, especially Glenty's after losing 2 beforehand. But just one small point there that Brendan made, and he made this point a couple of weeks ago, and I was thinking about it since. And yes, in the context of yesterday's game, Jerry, I went through the video again yesterday and I watched it. I counted one ball after 5 minutes. Someone kicked in probably McNulty outside the boot to Kevin Cassidy and went over his head and went wide.
Yeah.
Charlie, Cian Mulligan kicked in the ball after 14 and a half minutes. Now, this is from outside the 45. A kick pass from outside the 45. He kicked it into Cass. Cass won it, but he bobbled it and Guido and A.G. Gallagher turned him over.
That's right.
Charlie, I think that was only 2 kick passes that was kicked into a full forward in the whole match. I don't think McNulty said it once, Charlie.
Yeah.
Now, Brendan's point is very, very valid, Charlie. When you're looking at the bigger picture for Donegal, and this is going away from the county final, but as Brendan says, coaching, like, Charlie, if we're not coaching our players out the field to kick the ball into a corner forward or full forward that can win his own ball, like, Charlie, it's a lot of questions have to be asked for coaching, Charlie, for the bigger picture, because we have Michael Murphy now. When Michael Murphy retires, I said this to someone, they said, you're dead right. When Michael Murphy retires, now Paddy McBurdy is a good player, but where are our forwards, Jerry, that can skin a man and take him on one-on-one and score? Because it's a skill, Jerry, that you have to. Brendan played full forward all his life. I was a midfielder. It was a different. When I used to go in full forward, Jerry, sometimes people say, Jerry, I couldn't play it because I never played it. I was a midfielder all my life, and it's a different skill set. You know what I mean? And I know young Oisín Gallen there and Paddy McBurdy and some of them Niall O'Donnell, but Jerry, they're not inside winning 50-50 balls. Or, if you have a corner forward that makes a run, he's a yard in front of his man, there's someone out the field says, I'm going to kick it 50 yards in front of him, and he can win it. Jerry, we're developing the same player that's the half back, the half forward, can run all day, can hand pass it, doesn't go in the tackle, or can take a tackle, lay it off, come out round the loop and shoot them points.
If you look at it, John, see when Niamh Conall went for the winner, they couldn't get inside because they don't know how to build a platform to get inside. Now, it used to be years ago the number 11 would come off and play a wee nippy 20-yard ball and off would come a full forward, a corner forward, he'd lay it off and the ball would go over, or you turn the man. That doesn't happen anymore. So
but
when
there's a lot of roadblocks there to stop that.
Now, there was, Charlie, but you'll still find a gap eventually if you try and do it. The problem is, they're so used to just playing over and back and somebody getting beyond the man or free. That's how they score all the time. When they needed to get into, say, a 30-yard zone to make sure they scored, they couldn't do it. They were over and back and over and back. Now, you're right, Gidor was set up defensively, but you still can get a gap if there's a wee bit of ingenuity towards it. It's just when you're so used to not to doing that, you can't then do it.
If you watch Niall Field's 2 points, they're very simple points. He gets himself into a nice bit of space, no one near him, and clips over 2 lovely points. Right. And he wasn't out of distance, 25 yards out. The second one he was even closer.
And he's coming from way back there, John.
And just whatever, it's an ability and fair play to him. He can find the space. No one picks him up. 2 shots over the bar, and he was able to do that. But overall in the game, enough players weren't able to find that wee bit of space.
Is it a missed opportunity for Niamh Conall, who were underdogs, or is it a statement by them to say we're very much in this, Chris?
It's probably both. Like, whoever loses on Sunday, it's a missed chance. It's been a missed chance because both teams will probably point to a few things yesterday. Gidor are 2 points up, and you'd fancy Gidor 2 points up a few minutes to go that they should be comfortable, and they did. Not that they looked comfortable, but they looked in control of things. Going back to what the boys said, the teams didn't try and win the game yesterday. They tried not to lose it. And look at the sort of the intrigue and look at all the matchups. Both teams got their matchups probably
very
to
good.
Perfection yesterday. Both teams.
Yeah.
If you look at the Niamh Conall one, A.J. Gallagher did a good job in Cass. Kevin McGettigan was a name in column. He was taken off. Jack McKelvey did as good a job on Darrow Boyle as we've seen Ulton Doherty and Cian Mulligan. Flip that the other side, Dan McBride and Kieran Gallagher. Neil McGee was superb again at full back. Gary McFadden on Owen McGettigan. Owen scored 4 from place ball. So from that sort of setup, both teams defensively. Now, the problem was until we get to a point here where one of those teams is willing to make the first move and have a go, we're going to have the same thing next Sunday.
Yeah. Because
both teams will feel what they did worked to perfection, or as close to perfection as you would imagine. So if you're in any of those 2 dressing rooms, why would you change? But at the same time, if you come out of the losing dressing room on Sunday, you got to ask yourself, and this applies to both teams, whoever loses this Sunday, why didn't we just take that wee risk last week?
Sorry,
go on ahead, John.
I definitely think it was a missed opportunity for Niamh Conall.
Yeah.
You asked, we were here last week, Jerry and I said they would, for them to win, they would have to play out of their skins. They'd have to. So many of them would have to play so well. Yeah. And they didn't have to do that. Now, I know what you're saying, Chris, they got matchups right, but they had no standout player. I know they worked very hard, Charlie. You got to give them fierce credit for that.
Work rate was incredible.
And they put everything on the line, and you can never take that away from that Glenties team. And I said that before. They deserve a lot of applause for that. But, Charlie, if you said Glenties are only going to score 8 points, you'd say, oh, they haven't a hope. No,
Yeah,
Gidor will hammer them.
yeah.
But yet, I think, Charlie, you look at the last 7-8 minutes on the tape, like they had the ball, they were in control.
lot of the ball.
You know,
But I think
Gidor.
the thing though, John, we've been critical here, and I know I've said this a few times where Niamh Connell, in the last couple, this is based on the last couple of finals where we need more out of them, we need to see more attack. But if you look at Gidor yesterday as well, like they had 8 points, and not too many missed chances outside of those 8 points. But look at the attacking players that they have. That's not good enough for them either.
But does that go back, Brendan, to the fact that Gidor are not the same Gidor they were last year this year? Has that been proven now beyond a reasonable doubt? Because I know they were a bit annoyed about people like us talking about them the way they were. But my personal view is, I'll get off the fence here, John, is they're not as good as they were last year.
They had it too easy in the final last year. And I think once they got over, particularly the game against Carrigan, once they got over that first hurdle, they really opened up. I think they sucked Crossmaglen in the semi, and then when they beat Scotstown, the final, it was like this game yesterday, a real tense kind of game, and they just edged it by that point. And then they obviously Currafin. So I think when you look back in last year, you see some of the great stuff, particularly the Crossmaglen game, because Crossmaglen come on that weight of a team, you're thinking, wow, but they're not the Crossmaglen they used to be. No. But Gidor really...
They give them space, which
that was some performance. That was some performance. So you're looking at things like, and you're trying to put it against last year, and you just wonder, have they got to that level? And I think what we see with Kilcar in particular, they suck Kilcar in. You see, a lot of people look at Gidor. Gidor and O'Connell play the exact same way. Gidor don't get the same kind of maybe abuse, maybe Niamh Connell get for it, because they break quicker. So people about Donegal in 2012, Donegal looked like this brilliant team because they sucked everybody in. Fast forward a few years, like 2016 Ulster final with Tyrone, when they right, we're going to go the same as you. That dire game, and that's something what we're getting here today. There's a lot at stake. But to answer your question, I think, Charlie, they're bubbling. The younger players, I don't think have stepped up the way we thought they were going to. See that brilliant, obviously, underage team that was coming through. They added such a spark to them last year. We probably thought they would get a whole lot better a year later, but it doesn't look like they have. That's probably the wee bit of a spark that they're missing.
Yeah. Right, Chris, you're in both dressing rooms now next Sunday, and back in Balbuffet again. The slate's cleaned from what's happened. What are you saying if you're Martin Regan or you're Mervyn O'Donnell? What are you going to say to them?
Well, thinking back to my previous thing in Gidor, I think one thing Gidor really, really have to try and come up with this week is a way of getting Oran McNeilis really involved in the game, because I don't know, you could look again at this two ways. Did Glenties do a really good job on him, or did Gidor not do a good enough job with him? Oran McNeilis is a match-winning player. He scored 1 point from free that he won yesterday. It was a fabulous, fabulous point. Outside of that, he wasn't really involved in the game at all. Now, granted, there was that late turnover, I think, was it Ewan Doherty, and Oran looked like he was just about to pull the trigger, but Gavin McBride was pulled for the black yard, and the ball went up the other end. But Gidor really got to get Oran McNeilis on the play. For me, Gidor probably have sort of more to gain next week. Niamh Connell probably happy enough to come and do the same again. And for me, there's a lot more improving from Gidor next week.
Yeah. John, there had to be doubts in Niamh Connell's head. There had to be after the previous two finals. You can talk about it all week and the week up to it, but there's a hangover from those situations. That's gone now. They matched up Gidor yesterday. They stood up to them. They matched them. They come out of it with a draw, probably feeling, we should have won that.
Absolutely, Charlie. They came out with, in my opinion, in my mind, they came out with more credit because the questions were there to be asked of them, and they definitely stood up, Charlie, and to my mind should have won the game. Had better chances to win it because they had the ball at the end, them two chances. It was there, for them to win it. Regan will be so happy with so much, Charlie, definitely. They got the matchups right, and they gave it everything. For me, and Cherry, no man has. I've had plenty of battles with him, but Leo was very disappointing for me yesterday. I don't like singling him out, but he's a massive player for them. Yeah. And to me, he didn't do enough. But I wouldn't, write Leo off at your peril because he's a man that's done it for them many times. So I would expect no more than McNeilis for Gidor that didn't have a great game. Leo, to me, there's a lot more on him. Glenties, Charity, the brick came on, had a couple of them shots. They probably won't start the next day. The big Nathan Bourne boy came on, didn't give them an awful lot. It's hard to know, Charlie, if Glenties can do the same thing again and expect to be as close. You have to think that Gidor will play a bit better. So, Glenties are definitely going to have to play a bit better. Now, Charlie, they'll give it everything. They'll give it everything as they always do. The one thing that Gidor didn't get yesterday, which as Brendan said before, it controls the game is when they get the goals. You know, they had that chance early on, McFadden Ferry. I think the shot was going wide, but McGrath made a good save.
Yeah.
You know, that kept Glenties in the game, Charlie.
By their own admission, I mean, Martin Regan said to me afterwards they were lucky to be only 2 points down after the first 10 minutes because he said we were awful. The kick out wasn't working for them. And
the first three kick-outs, Charlie, and you were watching there from the terrace thinking, where Glenties going to get this kick-out? And then the fourth kick-out went long and they broke it onto the stand and they got it, you know, and they got a foothold into the game. But, you know, Gidor came out, like, you'd be thinking, that first short kick out went to the unit or the Kevin McGetty, Ulton Doherty, and they just came in and whacked him and I thought the end was a bit quick to give a free, but blew him up straight away. You thought, geez, Gidor and Tent here, they're coming here, and then they got the next, you know, they get the kick outs and got them in and got Kay Mulligan, you know, from that Kay Mulligan had that chance. You know, he
half a chance of
ballooning it over the bar. But no, Gidor did start very well, and you thought they were going to be in control. But no, once Glenties got their purple period from the 20th minute to, you know, they got them 3 points. You know, when they went 5-4 up at half time. Benny McDyer had a good 10 minutes there, and you know, big Charles McGuinness won a great free. You know, and McGettigan put it over, and who got the fifth? Was it Cian Thompson with another free? But you know, and that period, Charlie, you know, Martin Regan said he might be disappointed after 10 minutes, but Glenties had a lot of, you know, Leo had 2 bad wides and he kicked another one into the keeper's hands, and Anthony Thompson ballooned 1 wide, you know, and Benny McDyer hit 1 off the post, you know, so Glenties had a lot of play at that stage, Charlie, and they probably could have went in a bit more up at half time than the 1 point.
They didn't score, Brennan, for 23 minutes, I think it was, Chris, in the second half. You know, they were 8-6 down, didn't score for a long time, and then got the free, young McGettigan, and then controversial 45, but I think we all agree it was a 45. Neil McGee made a wee bit of an issue of it afterwards about the decision being made, but anyway, I think the right decision in the end. So you two boys were involved in a draw against them when they were underdogs, Brendan, many years ago, and most people expect it. St Eunan's got off the hook today, but that's it now. Glenties missed their chance. Could history repeat itself?
Very different circumstances, Charlie. It was the very start of this you know, blanket defence type play. And listen, I'm not a negative person at all. I hate talking about negative stuff. I'd love to be talking about a great game of football tomorrow. Just so it pains me to talk about.
You haven't so far today, anyway.
I have to get this off. You have to get it off your chest, just where you're seeing football going, and as we've kind of branched out into, it's affecting Donegal now.
Yeah.
The cornerbacks and people just aren't coming in. Full forwards aren't coming in because nobody kicks the ball. Would you want to play inside in either of these teams now? Because they don't kick the ball in.
No.
So how do those players start to evolve? And you don't have this platform for attack in there. But, you know, the replay that we played them, Charlie, I mean, this is the thing about the county final and why people in Naomh Conaill and Gweedore won't actually be overly worried about it. Neither will the people in the dressing room, because they just want to win the match. We're probably looking at the bigger picture and we're looking from a neutral. They're just saying, right, we want this title. By hook or by crook, it doesn't matter. Particularly probably
but the old cliche, Brendan, finals are there to be won. The only thing that matters is the result.
That's it, Charlie. And I guess the build up to this, and because we've seen a bit of a different dynamic coming onto football, we're opening up a wee bit, and even our own county team, we've seen it change, and now we've seen this has dragged us back a small bit. But certainly it's Gweedore are going to go in favourites again. You know, for us going in that replay, we had never seen this tactic before. And the next thing, that the harder we tried, the worse it got. And Naomh Conaill were deserving champs on the day. But as we've seen, as this has evolved on and on. But just going back to what you said about Gweedore this year, Charlie, after performance against Kilcar, really, and they controlled that game. If they had got that early goal yesterday, and it's funny, something so early in the game, that McFadden Ferry chance, he puts that away, Gweedore won the game, because they were absolutely going for the jugular, and Naomh Conaill didn't know what was happening in first 10. They had them camped in. That goal goes in and they're 4 points up. 4 points up in the game, as we've seen, was going to be low scoring. There would have been no actually way back unless Naomh Conaill got a goal, and they wouldn't have looked like it. So I agree with Chris, and I think going in the next week, Naomh Conaill, Gweedore, when they got behind Naomh Conaill, have that extra bit of pace that Naomh Conaill don't have. And a few times when they broke away, you thought that they were going to get in behind and score, get more scores. It seemed much more workmanlike for Naomh Conaill to get in behind Gweedore, because that's how they play. They don't have that extra wee element of pace. And just about Cass inside, if Cass can win that the throw-in, how come he can't win a ball in front of him? And if I was Mervyn Donald, I'd say to Owen McNeely, say 5 times in the game, do you know what you do? Drive that ball in from 60 yards. Don't even look. Drive it into wee McCollum and Cass. It would start to unhinge the defence and that. I never understand why teams don't just take the chance And the reason they don't, Jerry, is going back to what we're saying about possession tactics and playing with fear.
Yeah.
Lump it in all the time. I think Niamh Conn maybe attempted that a few times yesterday. I don't know whether shots.
No, there were shots.
There was a couple of high balls went down. I think they might have been shots. But they left it guessing. And there was one could have sprung into the net. There was one.
Kieran Thompson, I have it in the notes. Kieran Thompson went for a big shot after about
late on.
What do we see? Kieran Thompson went for goes for 58 minutes. Kieran Thompson goes for a big shot from outside the 45, and it went right up there. You thought it was going wide, but it came right down. And Nathan Byrne was Nathan Byrne. That was Nathan Byrne was with the one for the 45. It came down between Michael Carroll and Leo. Leo was there ready to fist it, and Michael Carroll did well to wrestle him, and Michael Carroll got a hand, and it fell into Christopher Sweeney's laps. So and the one before that was the brick. The brick went for another shot, and it dropped short. And Nathan Byrne had got between the keeper and Neil McGee. He got behind Neil McGee to punch it, and just that Christopher Sweeney got there, and punched it out for the 45.
Some stats just before we finish, boys. Gadore's 8 points. Oran McNeilis a free. Eamon Collum 2 frees. Niall Friel 2. Neil McGee 1. Gavin McBride 1. And Cian Mulligan 1. One starting forward scored for them.
And two on the other side.
With Niamh Conn as well. Jack McKelvey, who was named at 13 now, but you wouldn't really regard him as a forward. They've only got 2 points from their starting forwards. Probably says a lot. Big Gavin McBride came on, got a great score for Gweedore, but that probably just tells the way again the game was played. And going back to what the boys were talking, you look at big Kieran Gallagher, he's a good big man who can win ball. Nathan Byrne again, huge big fella who can win ball. Why not, as Brendan said, 3 or 4 times, just throw it on them? But that has been that sort of impulse thing of the fella getting the ball, looking up, and he sees, you're Brendan Devenney there, and that's coached out of them now because they're told not to take the risk. They're told to play it safe. Like, I would actually have admiration for Dermot Malloy and for John O'Malley going for those shots yesterday. Why? They had a go. Do you know what I mean? Where if you're looking at it probably in the Niamh Conn dressing room this week, they'll probably say, why didn't you keep the ball? Just keep the ball, keep the ball. But I would actually say, you know what? Fair play to them. They've had a pop and they've missed.
The brick shot was on because you could see it. He was out waiting for it. He got it. He was inside the 45. He knew it was coming, and we've seen him doing it.
And he's put them over.
He was definitely right there.
I wouldn't have been surprised if he'd have curled that over the outside. Anyway, right. Replay. Who's going to win it?
I'm still going to edge with Gweedore because I think they have more improving to do than Niamh Conn.
Okay, Brendan.
Yeah, I agree with Chris. I think again it's going to be much the same as last week. This game of chess, Charlie. Unfortunately, and as we were saying, each camp don't care now at this point. You're not going to see any major tactic change, but something like that high ball in. If Gweedore score a goal, then they'll win the match. If they out goal Niamh Conn, that was the key yesterday. That clean sheet was vital. Very rarely they could over. So still, it's 2 games in a row. Are they going to shut out Gweedore from getting a goal? I doubt it. And if they do, that'll give Gweedore the platform to win it.
John?
Yeah, I have to agree with Brendan. I think Gweedore, Cherry have more improvement, and I think they'll get a goal the next day. They had the 2 chances with Cian Mulligan's chance, the time he tried to chip the goalie, and McFadden Ferry's chance in the first half. Bentley's never looked like getting that close for a goal. A couple of high balls, but they were missed kicks. So I just think that Gweedore have a bit more, Cherry, to improve on,
Okay. Reserve final, disappointing as well, Chris. Not a great game of football. St Eunice won at 11-7. Like Gweedore, similar situation, hot favourites to retain their title, but Kilcar stuck there 5-2 down at half time. They hung it around there. They never looked like winning it, but not a great spectacle either.
No, it was kind of funny because Kilcar were hanging in there, and they came I think 4 times in the second half to within 2 points, but at no stage did you feel that St Eunice were in trouble. And I think it was Lee McMonigal and Conor Harley both kind of alluded at that point. They felt well in control. Kilcar inched back a couple of times, but I think St Eunice won the game without really coming close to hitting their top gears. You have to say, look, fair play to Kilcar, they're surprise finalists, and they came, and I think, and this is with the greatest of respect to Kilcar, we're just glad that the thing didn't turn out to be the procession that we actually tipped it to be yesterday.
John, how did you think about it?
It's James. I was slightly disappointed. We have a good enough young team there, a lot of good players. I thought they didn't perform as well as they can. They'll be disappointed with that. But listen, they won the county final, so not, I heard your interview with Mick last night, and finals will be there to win, and that was their hardest game all year. And the more than we said, once the pressure comes on a team that's not used to it, they can sometimes make mistakes that they don't normally make. But Jerry, they won, and a couple of good young players there coming through. I thought young Bardo at the back scored a great point in the first half. He came up and he had a good game. We were solid at the back, Jerry. Midfield, and the forwards, I thought we could have got a bit more out of our boys. They were a wee bit slack at times and that there. But listen, Kilcar were game, Charlie, and they stuck at it. And a lot of stumbling and sliding, Charlie, and mistakes and silly other stuff. I thought our boys, they'll be delighted to win, Jerry, but I thought they could have played a wee bit better. But
they had the jitters, Brendan.
Funny, we kept our best player, Eddie Blake, on the bench. I don't know what that was about. I think he wanted to come on and win the match.
Were you speaking to Eddie before you came up?
That was a quote from Eddie Blake, yeah. But he wanted to come on and win the game, but we were already in the lead. So
Eddie's been starting in that team.
I think he's a bit shell shocked now he didn't come in. But that's what happens. As long as we all win, it's a squad game, Eddie. Come on.
All right, listen, thanks to Kelly Centra at the Mountaintop for their support on our podcast. We've been getting plenty of feedback in relation to the podcast. Some good, some not so good. We're delighted to get it. We don't get everything right, that's for sure, and it's great to get the reaction we've been getting. Buncrana were out yesterday, John, in the Ulster Junior quarter-final against College Land from Armagh. I think the Armagh team them 1-14-9. Led 1-5-4 at half time. Big John Campbell a goal. Oran Darley started, got 7 points. So comfortable victory. But now they face Rock, who are pretty much everybody's favourites to win this.
Aye, Tyrone teams have a good record, and poor at the senior, Charity, but very good at intermediate and at junior level. That's Cian Gurley's team, our pal from St Mary's in Belfast. Cian Gurley, won a couple of All-Irelands with Tyrone. Cian Gurley still playing and a good player. But Charity, no, I wouldn't. I think Buncrana have nothing to fear. That Buncrana team is probably slightly better than junior. We know that they were Division 2 this year, so they're a very strong junior team, Charlie. Where's that game?
That's games next week. I'm not sure where the venue is actually. You suspect it'll be Irvingstown or Celtic Park.
Yeah,
it'll be
neutral.
Right. So no, Charlie, I would give Buncrana a big chance against the Rock. It's still, the Rock are still a junior team in Tyrone, but Tyrone teams are normally good. But I think not Buncrana. Definitely, Charlie, nothing to fear there.
And Buncrana coming out of that tight game against Letterkenny Gales, Brendan, out straight away then again. I mean, I'm sure there was a few celebrations, rightly so, in Buncrana, but that's impressive to just come out the following week and won comfortably and set up now. They have a 2-week break now before the next game, which will help them.
Yeah. It's funny way football's gone, Charlie, getting a bit romantic now, going back to the early days of playing. There used to be, 2 or 3 weeks between each championship game.
Yeah.
It used to be a wild crack. And I feel sorry for the boys now that not only is each championship game, you basically won it, you have to get rest, prepare next week. We've really squeezed everything in, and I know it's because of Donegal back in, it was knockout, you could be out early. But there was such a great season, if you like. Now everything's a bit crammed in, a bit like that. You won the competition, God, they're not even really time to celebrate, you're straight in. But the card angle now for Donegal teams right across the board is Ulster, and that. You're always thinking about being at a couple of All-Ireland semis for junior teams last year. You're so close to Croke Park. Everyone wants that mega of Croke Park.
And Red Hughes and Eve Columkill, Chris, have set the landmark for these teams in the junior, haven't they?
I suppose without maybe putting too much pressure on Buncrana, but Buncrana would be, you would imagine, better set up or better equipped than Eve Columkill or Red Hughes, who kind of went in not really knowing what they were going into, or not really there was no way 2 years ago or last year that Eve Columkill or Red Hughes were thinking about winning the Ulster Championship. Yeah. It happened, they got over the line again and won the final. But Buncrana surely somewhere there are thinking, I think big call by Malachy McCann yesterday as well. We spoke about it last week where he kept Oran Darley on the bench and on the sideline. Started him yesterday and scored 7 points. So, fair play to Malachy. He made the big call and it worked.
And Ciaran McGonigal apparently had a good game yesterday as well, which is vital for them if they're going to win anything really at that level.
We said last week, Terry, do you want your county men to stand up? And he stood up. Just going back, I know that College Land team from Armagh, they played the preliminary round last week, so they had a game under their belt. They bet the Antrim champions, so they would have been coming in with a wee bit of momentum. But even looking at the senior thing now for Ulster, Terry, next week, whoever wins, they've only 1 week to the Ulster club, isn't that right?
Yeah,
that's right. They're right the following week.
The celebrations and all that, so it could affect.
The replays having a negative effect in that regard.
And looking at Ulster,
I think for Eve Conlon wouldn't be celebration, be relief.
Yeah.
And in many ways, I suppose this 3 thing that was scaring them, that's gone now. They haven't lost 3 finals in a row, so
that's right.
That's off the back of their neck now that they're gone to the 4th.
And so Knowles will be out on Sunday week as well, Chris. The Antrim champions. I'm not sure we know who the Antrim champions are.
Aldergrove. It's all St James's Aldergrove.
Okay.
Like they haven't
Right.
won a charity in 42 years or somewhere. Sean McEwen's father-in-law would be from that club.
Right. So it's up in Corrigan Park as well. So home advantage for the
But I
Antrim
would have
champions.
fancied
there.
St All's there charity.
Yeah,
Ah,
you'd have
you
to.
know,
You'd have
against
to.
the Antrim champions, it should
Yeah.
have too much for them.
Okay, Ulster finals next week, and myself and Chris have been out and about over the weekend there. And Nivora play Eden Dark in the ladies Ulster Junior, and Termon play Donegal from County Monaghan in the senior, both in Killyclahar next week. I was down in Nivora on Friday night. The latest press conference I've ever been at in my life, 10:15 was the start time. We didn't get started at 10:30, but I must say the hospitality made up for the late night. Great enthusiasm for the girls as well, and I took the opportunity to interview a number of them, and I spoke to their captain, Afric Hannah, and this is what she had to say about how they're looking forward to their first Ulster final.
Yeah, no, there's a great buzz about the club, you know, the community as well, like everyone's just on a high, you know, all the girls just can't believe, you know, we didn't make it easy for ourselves there last week, you know, we stuck out and got into extra time, but now, you know, we all worked well together, you know, we know the talents there in the team, like we've been together for, you know, a good few years, it's been building, so, you know, we're just glad where we are to get to the Ulster final.
That's Afric Hannah there of Nivora. John, big day for both. I mean, Termon have been there before, but for Nivora, you could see the enthusiasm down there. Great setup down at the banks. A lot going into the club, and everybody's so excited. It's great for them.
A brilliant charity. You know, that's what these competitions have brought to the smaller clubs. It's given them a chance on the bigger stage and the provincial stage. And as Brendan said, you know, trying to get to Croke Park, and it's the same for the ladies. Like, and fair play them, Nivora. Like, to get an off the final is brilliant. You know, when they started off at the start of the year trying to win a Donegal Junior Championship, now they're in an Ulster final. So it's fairy tale stuff for them, and they give them every chance, charity. You know, they've nothing to fear, nothing to lose. I suppose Eden Dark will be more or less not far from Killyclahar, so it's kind of a home game for them. But that won't deter Nivora, but charity, I know Killyclahar well. There's a good pitch and, you know, nice facilities there, and you know, the good stand there that looks over the pitch. So there'll be a good atmosphere. That, you know, there'll be a big crowd there, and there'll be a good atmosphere for them two games. And best of luck to Nivora. Charity, a great club that, you know, have done tremendous work this last, say, 20 years. You know, they've really got their act together and they've put in a big and great facilities and the floodlights down
That's
there.
right.
And,
Fantastic.
you know, a lot of players. It's
Fantastic.
hard for them, charity, with emigration and players in Dublin and all that there. Even probably for the ladies too. I know the profile of the ladies game is slightly younger and you have younger girls playing, but still, charity, it's great to give everyone a boost, and they'll all be heading off now on Sunday
And that
morning
team,
up to
John,
Killyclahar.
that Nivora team as well, they'd hit the crossbar in a couple of Donegal junior finals and came back again to win it this year. And, you know, they made this big thing, you know, they're training at 7 o'clock in the morning and stuff. Now, again, a lot of players away, and I think that's why you were late in the batter on Friday night. They were waiting on the buses to come back out of Dublin and Galway, and they had the training session at 9 o'clock on a Friday night, you know, so look, fair play to them.
Is this a knock-on, Brendan? We talk about county football and club football and the coordination between the two. I mean, our ladies' county team have been very successful over the last number of years, and is this the consequence now? Are we seeing more clubs coming in? We've had the Termons, we've had the Glenfellens, to a lesser extent Moville have on occasions looked good as well, but these other clubs are starting to flourish now.
That's it, Jenny. And you know, once we make it high profile, and the ladies have pushed it on, you think about all the wee girls in it want to emulate them and play and get involved. Fantastic stuff. And Maria, my sister, was back involved with Donegal again this year, and back at training, and she was back here training with unions a few times, and she lives in Donegal town now. She was up at the house for stop for a cup of tea or whatever, but you could see the bit of buzz coming back. You know, that's the enthusiasm of sport. And you think about any team that's successful now, and you think about Donegal there, you know, from the underage, from Donegal 2012, next thing these underage teams started winning because it just gives it that boost. And the same for the ladies, so fantastic. And just on about Nivora and the facilities down there, I remember opening a pitch there. It was way back in about 98 or 99, opening a new pitch, and there was no sat navs or phones or fancy gadgets in. But I remember we played Offaly, and Offaly come up not a great road all the way. When they got to Donegal town, I remember chatting Big McManus. When they got to Donegal town, they thought, "Geez, it's not far now." You can imagine on a coaster that road day, for a real windy day. I think it was 5-0 at half time, and it ended up 5 each. So that was Nivora in their facilities.
Well, I wish Nivora well against Eden Dark. That's the 1 o'clock throw in. Chris, you were down at the bridge. We're just going to hear from Nathan McElwain, who you spoke to first. Nathan, of course, assistant Sean the Decent in the backroom team, and Termon back in another Ulster final. This is what Nathan had to say to Chris.
It's massive, to be honest. Like, if you had said at the start of the year that the girls would be preparing for an Ulster final come October, November, I would have took the hand off. I feel like our aim at the start of the year was to get back. We're a club in transition over the last few years, and the county final was our aim. But listen, every game was a bonus after that, and we're not taking nothing for granted come this weekend.
Nathan McElwain there talking to Chris. So Chris, Sunday morning, big crowd down in the bridge again, down at the Burn Road. Termon set for another Ulster final. They're underdogs because this Donegal side we know are good.
Donegal have won 17 or 18 Ulster titles. Like, you know, we chat about serial winners and they keep coming back. Same players have backboned a lot of those titles. But look, again, it's a final, it's a one-off game. You see the buzz down there yesterday at the Burn Road. Like, it was great to see 9:30 on a Sunday morning. And, you know, sometimes maybe people on the outside can look in and kind of think, it's only actually ladies' final or whatever. No, they can kind of shrug the shoulders. But you seen yesterday, the whole club is behind these girls in this team. You know, the wee breakfast morning yesterday kind of acted as a bit of a fundraiser, but the girls were out training, you know, and serious training session. I was down and happened to catch the tail end of it, and no quarter given in that training session. You know, you think a week out from Ulster, maybe they're kind of lifting the feet a wee bit. But no, look, Termon will be ready for this, because Termon in many ways have nothing to lose, in that their big thing this year was winning Donegal. They'd done that, and it was kind of in bonus territory. But look, there's a core of players here that have been in a couple of Ulster finals. They don't want to lose the Ulster final, and they won't see this as bonus territory. They'll see this as an Ulster final to win. We chatted a few weeks about Geraldine McLaughlin, but you can't underestimate what having a player of that calibre can do for you. Termon's defensive game as well. They've Emer Alcorn back from suspension. It's up at 12 o'clock on Saturday night. Again, just gives them that extra wee bit of an option. Roshan Yankee's probably a huge loss for them, because just to supplement what Geraldine scoring, you know, Roshan's always good for a goal, a couple of points, but you just sense a wee buzz in Termon, and you know, there'll be a bit of nerves. There's a lot of young players, but nerves is good for Ulster finals. But go back to it, they have a core of players, they know how to get over the line. I wouldn't rule them out.
Have you ever seen, I've never seen any sports when we score as much as Geraldine.
No.
Consistently all the time. I've never seen anything like it.
Incredible.
Absolute scoring machines. Unbelievable player.
But if you go back to this, like they were making the point yesterday in Termon, Geraldine herself would say she didn't have her best game in the semi-final. She scored 1-8.
I know. You know? She's nothing else. Yeah. John, the downside of it, if they won the decent, it'll be hard to listen to.
Oh, it'll be hard to listen to. I'll not be going to the Lagoon on Sunday night. He might buy me a few pints, Jerry, so sure. he'll be in good form. But no, best luck to Sean the Decent.
Absolutely. Good luck to him.
Credit, you know.
Just want to have you there now, and Brendan, and with us as well. Believe it or not, the county scene isn't that far away now. We're nearly into November. I was talking to Declan. Now there's a bit of uncertainty. Chris might just confirm this regarding the McKenna Cup. I was talking to him at the LYAT game last week. They're not sure if the colleges teams are going to be in it, or if it's going to be 3 groups of 3. If the college teams are in it, it's going to start before Christmas. If they're not, it's going to start, I think, the weekend after Christmas. Is that right, the way it is, Chris?
Yeah, that's right. I think there's that old kind of thing at play now of a player availability, and the county wants them and the college wants them, and there's the whole thing now where if you're, say, a young player now and you're at maybe Jordanstown and you're playing for Donegal, the McKenna Cup's your chance to play and get your chance for Donegal, but the college wants you because the Sigerson's coming. So I think that's a big stumbling block at the moment for the colleges, and I think they're a bit of wrangling about rules going on at the moment.
Yeah.
But as we stand, I think it will go. I think the colleges will go on.
Yeah. Brendan, the county scene, I mean, it's a year-round thing now, because the boys are keeping themselves strength and condition and all that sort of stuff. You know, here we're ready to go in the McKenna Cup, say at the end of December. The National League coming very quickly. Then after that, we're back in Division 1. We have 4 home games, 3 away games. Every game's going to be tough, and we have the toughest possible draw in the championship. So there's a 5 or 6 months lead into it. But you're Declan Boner. How are you going to approach it?
Do you want to? Because of the importance of where football has gone now, it's just gone up and up and up in terms of people's attitudes towards it, the coverage of it, and then the players' commitment to it. That's why you can't just write off the McKenna Cup and say it doesn't matter, because you're going to go on cold in the league, and you have to be in the top flight. You need to be in the top flight for your players to keep evolving and getting better and playing against the best in the big games, to then go on to the championship if you really want to be at your best.
Yeah.
So as much as you might say, well, listen, take it easy in McKenna Cup, you have to get ready, you have to get fit, you have to get ready, because once that season starts, bang, the league starts, you have to be ready to rock.
Yeah.
Because you've seen how it's affected us before, going down to Division 2. Any team down to 2 straight away is knocked back a step.
Yeah.
So you have to be up mixing it with the best. So for Boner, it's just one of them. You need a bigger squad. You need as big a squad as you want, and that's another thing the best teams have. They have the bigger squads, and you need a good conveyor belt of top teams pushing it in. Let's go back to what we were chatting about earlier. We're not saying this to give off to some of the clubs in Donegal, but the tactics now is going to make the pool of talent less. That's going to come in then, and that's what Boner needs in. He needs a strong 30-plus squad that he can pull on the whole year. Young boys that he can come in and try and blood in the McKenna Cup, then lads that he's in between the team and the league. He needs players he can rely on and come through, and that's why they need tight, good club championship games, playing good football to go on to that level. So that's the thing for Boner now. That's kind of with the same message we're getting at.
Yeah.
But very difficult season for Donegal to navigate, Charlie, because
Absolutely.
when you look at the bigger teams, the Kerrys and Dublin in particular, Kerry and Dublin in particular, the two teams that played All Ireland, their pathway is completely different.
Yes,
they're
absolutely.
completely
I'm
different.
going to make that point to John, actually. Listening to the draws on that week, I was just thinking exactly the point that Brendan's after making, and then comes to the Thursday morning, and we missed the preliminary round. You sigh of relief for that. Then the next Donegal come out, it's going to be a home game. Next thing, Tyrone.
Sometime in May.
Sometime. It's going to be early, you see, John. You're going to be out early. So, do you agree with what Brendan's saying? You've got to pay respect to the McKenna Cup and to the league, but at the end of the day, and as an old cliche to say, nobody's going to remember what happened in them if we beat Tyrone in Balbafay to get to a semi-final.
Absolutely. But even, Charlie, is anyone going to mind if Tyrone beat us and we get to an All-Ireland semi-final? I don't think so.
Yeah, good point.
All right, we might miss out on the 3 in a row in Ulster, but for Donegal to make progress this year, Charlie, we probably have to make an All-Ireland semi-final. We have to come out of our Super 8 group. Now, that's saying we get to the Super 8. So what's the best way for Donegal to get to the Super 8? Is it to beat Tyrone, go on and win an Ulster title, which would be great, 3 Ulster titles in a row we've never done before. We can't get above ourselves in Donegal, Charlie. How many Ulster titles have we? 7 or 8?
10.
10, sorry. We've won.
Well, we won
last
72, 74, 83, 90, 92, and then there was a 19-year gap, and we've won 5 since
that. So we're in the glory days, really. We've won 5. So we can't overlook.
We've been at 8 out of 9 finals.
Very good, Charlie.
That's brilliant.
So
we can't dismiss Ulster titles in Donegal, and we never will, and they're great to win. So we can either go that way, but if we get beat by Tyrone, Charlie, all right, the heads will be down, we'll be disappointed, we'll question the performance at the time and maybe some of the players, but there's a road back then to get back into the Super 8.
Obvious question then, the Ulster Championship, because there's question marks about what they're going to do with it, the province as well. Doesn't really matter that much.
Doesn't really matter, Terry. No, unfortunately, no. I have to say it. We grew up loving the Ulster Championship and big knockout games as youngsters going to Clonus, and it was all that there. But
your heart was broke losing them, Brendan.
But John, I would still say it matters.
It matters, but it's not.
It matters to us.
It matters to us.
I mean, say what about it from Anna a couple of years ago. There's certain teams that probably matters more to. Particularly if you take Donegal to Tyrone and Monaghan.
But John making a good point. If we want to be in the last 4 at worst, forget about the Ulster Championship and make sure we're in the last 4.
But you wouldn't know who you would meet, Charlie, along the road then.
Oh, well, that's true.
There's dangerous games. You think about Tyrone there 2 years ago up in Meath. Very easily could have lost that match. So anything could happen in the back door, particularly playing teams in their home patch then. So it's a dicey one, but it's a very unfair one. Because you're on about Donegal have to be ready to go against Tyrone. You look at them, as I say, Kerry and Dublin in particular, there's no such, they can just get their trajectory right for the Super 8s and then be like that. So their first Super 8 game, they have to be like we have to be against Tyrone at the start of May. So it's hard trying to keep that freshness in.
A lot of pundits were saying, Terry, that this year Jim Gavin, everything was geared to the All-Ireland final, to that week, not even a semi-final. So, I don't know how true that is.
Chris, I mean, this year we got to draw away to Fermanagh, and with the Rory connection and all that, oh God, that's a tough one. The boys went and did a very professional job. Then we knew we were going into Breffni Park or wherever to beat Tyrone. They did a fantastic job. And then they were expected to beat Cavan, which they did. And then it kind of unravelled then. We didn't play brilliantly against Meath in the Super 8s. Then the injuries came and we went to Croke Park without 3 first-line defenders, lost 3 people through injury and a black card, down 6 players, still got a draw against Kerry, but it all proved too much when we got to Mayo. So the pathway, what is the best pathway to go?
Well, you see, if you look at the pathway, and I'll come back a few months here, our first game in the National League is against Mayo. And that's already been talked about. Like Boner was even chatting a couple of weeks ago where we have to be ready to play Mayo because, they maybe feel they have that wee point of proof from the game in Castlebar.
Yeah.
So that takes you back from playing Tyrone in early May. You're now coming to late January. you're coming. A lot of these boys are only coming off a real tough year with Donegal. They've had 5 or 6 or 7 weeks, real relentless stuff for their clubs. Bang, we're back now with a target sitting there in late January. If you're Boner now trying to build a squad as well, it's a real balancing act, because you take, say, some of the players that were involved yesterday, maybe somebody like Owen McGettigan, who was in the squad this year, young Aaron Doherty. You have to find a way of getting those boys up to a level of an inter-county footballer. Now, how do you do that in Division 1? Because you can't, there's no way to babysit young fellas in Division 1 or that. You have to win games because he wants to stay in Division 1. And I know maybe the bigger picture would say it doesn't matter if you get relegated, but ultimately it does in terms of the bigger picture. Next year, you want to be playing in there. Your McKenna Cup, therefore, becomes, in some ways, pretty important.
Yeah. The point Brendan made earlier on.
Like, the whole point I'm trying to get at, Charlie, there's no room for error now anymore, because Boner ultimately wants to win All-Ireland next September. That road doesn't start for him next maybe August, as it might for your Jim Gavin. It's all about your bigger picture here, where when Brendan was playing for Donegal, the Ulster title was the holy grail. It was the thing we hadn't won. It was the big thing. Now we've won it 4 or 5 times. We've had the All-Ireland. We want to get back there. That's where the target is. But for Donegal to get to that target, it's not like Dublin or Kerry. We have to start 6-7 months before.
I just want to tell Chris that I played for Donegal a few times too.
You did,
Charlie.
you did. Aye. He's brushing off. As a former Donegal player yourself, John. Listen, here's a question. Here's a football man like yourself said to me. Here's the thinking that's going on, right? The National League. We're lucky. 2 of the away games are against Dublin and Kerry, so we won't be expected to win them anyway. Forget about them. Target the 4 home games. You'll get enough points then to keep you in Division 1. Forget about those 2 away games.
Forget about the Donald Park game now, someone will say.
Well, there's 3. There's 3. But I mean, and I would consider this man to be a fairly knowledgeable man about football, and he says, you're going to lose them 2 anyway, so don't worry too much about them. Like, don't put too much in. And his point was, the only game that matters in 2020 that we know's coming is the Tyrone game. Now, maybe that's too simplistic, but that was his view on it.
Well, I go back to the Jerry. Is the Ulster Championship the be all and end all?
Yeah.
That's my point. I know where he's coming from. That's a fair point, but surely, Charlie, if we beat Tyrone, we'll be favourites to win an Ulster because they're the second. Ulster.
But I think his even maybe I didn't explain it properly. He sees beating Tyrone as an easier pathway sort of thing.
Probably would be because Ben says you could get a Galway or Mayo meeting in Connacht and one goes out, or a Cork or a Kerry, and you could be drawn away to them in the back door, and you're under pressure straight away. So no, from that point of view, definitely, I beat Tyrone. You'll have an easier chance to get the Super 8s by winning Ulster. So definitely no, that fair point, Jerry, and I would accept that point totally.
You're on about blood and players. If you had that mindset, and I don't like ever thinking we can't beat.
No.
You're going to have to think you can beat these guys. You're right, their record away to Dublin, away to Kerry, like most teams, will be very poor. But that then is a chance to maybe throw in. Like, at some stage you have to say, the likes of Owen McGettigan, right on, you're starting, go on against Dublin and do your thing. That's a massive thing. And if you're thinking that's not a game you're targeting, and you don't like to say that, Jerry, you're not going to lose the game. But if you're thinking these are the games we need to target, you've got to play it smart. Because if you put your best team out there and give it all and pump it for Dublin, that's what I'm saying. You need to keep. You can't keep asking the team to go here. You got to be in National League. You got to play at that level and then be ready for the championship.
Yeah.
But then
hasn't Boner been good at? And it's something. It's always something I felt throwing somebody in for the last 10 minutes. Waste of time. Hasn't he been good at saying to guys, you're on 3 or 4 matches. Let's see what you can do. And then if a guy doesn't come up to scratch, he's only himself to blame.
But if you look, Oisin Gallen's actually a case in point in that. Like, Oisin Gallen was only taken in last December to train with the team.
Yeah.
He played a game up at Kalashalley, and he just sort of rolled and he got his games in the McKenna Cup, but he got a wee sniff of county football and he latched onto it and he took it. And he's got the reward because he's now there in Boner's first sort of 20 players, 21 players, has started his fair share of games and has contributed. So Declan is actually true to his word in that sense. If he gives the fellow the chance and he takes it.
Jimmy Brennan's another one thrown on there. And
he took a punt on Sean Patton because
Mark
Anthony was the number one when Sean, but he went for Sean Patton. Gave it. Jerry, just I remember looking at last year's National League, and Mayo had a bad start, but they came good and they won the National League. But I remember they had a bad start. But there was 3 players: Fionn McDonough, Kieran Tracy, and Matty Ruan. They were following boys on social media, not the Mayo boys, that they were thrown in straight away, kind of out of nowhere. And the belief was that James Horn said, right, we need more players. Mayo needed more players if they were going to win an All-Ireland to push on. And he gave them 3 or 4. And them boys, well, Haran got injured, but they were a big help. I know Mayo collapsed badly against Dublin in the All-Ireland semi-final, but that was the thinking that, listen, Mayo aren't going to make progress unless I get 3 or 4 new players, and he was willing to just put them in and win, lose or draw.
You know, it probably cost Donegal maybe when we got those injuries that we just, you know, we maybe didn't know, or our replacements just maybe weren't conditioned enough to be at the level of the guys that we were missing.
Well, you could argue, listen, it's hypothetical now, if we had a full team, we would have beaten Kerry that day in Croke Park, and the Mayo thing might have come out different. Brendan, I'm going to wrap it up. Final question. I mean, 2020, John mentioned earlier on, we have an opportunity for three in a row Ulster titles. We haven't made it out of the Super 8s for the last 2 years. What would be success for our county senior team in 2020?
Yeah, it's obviously Jerry getting to a semi-final. We've just on the last day we've fallen short. I think again physically, we struggled obviously against Mayo physically. There's certain teams we struggle to play against, and I've seen Mayo do that to us a few times. It's hard to put that on there. They're just bigger men, and you think about Michael Murphy too. He's a Mayo dad. Is there something in the breeding there, you know? But thankfully he came up this way. But yeah, I just think depending on who we play or who gets into the Super 8s, I think we mixed it up with some brilliant football last year. But I think what the boys were saying there, and John's point about throwing in players, we got to just give a few players that are on the fringe that latitude, and not even that they necessarily start, but if they come on, if you look at the impact players now and that, I think our squad's got a bit weakened with guys that have retired lately, and we haven't really replaced them. Like, we definitely have worries in our full back line, Charlie. We don't have a number 6. We were sticking Leo McClune there in times there last year. You know, we have issues in our defence. We're going to have to really protect them. And then we have new players up front, I think, as we're saying, Oisin and Jamie and that, you know, showed some brilliant signs last year. Paddy McBurdy is still one of the best ever. You know, we still have Michael around the middle. It's a matter of just positioning our defence. We were wide open at times against Mayo. We had half-backs and cornerback. They just weren't ready to play that. So I think that's the big challenge now coming into this year. Getting ourselves into defensive shape, but we have guys can take on boys man for man, and then we have the protection back, and then when we're breaking in, we have plenty of talent up front. So it's all about our defensive shape. We have Sean Patton, a brilliant keeper. So we have many good points there, team. But I think overall defensively, I think that's the big thing, Boner, through the McKenna Cup in the league we've got to work on.
Yeah. Being
that wee bit more solid and getting a couple of more man-to-man type markers. And unfortunately, Big Gillespie, he was like the great white hope nearly coming in at a full-back. I couldn't see any other full-back around the county there. They could step into, need McGee's boots. Gillespie would have been the man. Unfortunately, he's tortured by injuries. But that's the type of player now. We need somebody to come in like that. Cornerback, I think we need at least one cornerback and a full-back and a number 6. That's what we need to somehow unearth or get a player to play in that position this season.
But just, Cherry, you know, Connor Park definitely deserves a chance from St John's. You know, I thought he was very good against Clanty's, against McGillig, and obviously Owen McNeil's. Cherry is the player sitting waiting for us that we know has it. So if we could get Owen back next year, it'll be a massive help.
We want him back.
You know, and he's Rolls Royce, and we'll need him.
Okay, lads, got to wrap it up. Thanks to Kelly Centra at the Mountaintop here for their support on our Spot podcast. Thanks to Brendan, John and Chris for coming in. We'll be back next week. I won't. Chris will be in the hot seat next weekend. And, well, hopefully we'll have county senior champions at that stage. Who knows, it might go to another replay even after extra time next week. Thanks for joining us. Join the boys again next week.
The Donegal Sport Hub Donegal Daily Championship Podcast. Brought to you in association with Kelly Centra, multi-award-winning store, Mountaintop Letterkenny, providing 24-hour service 7 days a week.